Okay guys, Yeti Roadie 24. I think its shortfall is no way of locking it. Now obviously it's more thought out for sitting inside a locked car, but campsites, all the places where this thing might go, a bit of theft deterrent wouldn't hurt. So I was looking at a good look at it. I thought I could force a thin cable lock which would stop a lazy thief through this bracket, which is used to tie it down. Or there's a 5mm Allen head here. Take this apart and have a look inside, and maybe make something to fit behind, or maybe replace this with a bracket that's big enough to take one of the Yeti security brackets. As one option. My other thought is I could drill through here under the handle. This is a decent enough gap here that a decent sized cable lock could come through the top. It's going to drill a decent sized hole in the cooler. My preferred option is I'm looking at this here. It's about 7mm on the bottom, and a bigger gap at the top. Is to make something like the one they make for the new Yeti Roadie that's on wheels. They do have a bracket. I don't know if they're interchangeable. No one here where I am, West Australia, has got one, as in the lock piece. So I'd like to just sort of see if it's doable. That's about 45 or 50 Australian dollars, so not a cheap thing. And basically it just screws in top and bottom. I thought I could replicate that. And choices of materials and stuff like that. So what I'll do, I'll try and measure this out and work out what my options are. Right guys, so this gap here, including the total gap is 28mm, and I did here we've got 15mm. Then of course we've got the seal, which we don't want to impede of that, and on the base we've got 7. It's a bit slightly tapered, so I'm using cardboard assisted drawing. So I've got my form out and I've copied the shape. So what I'll do now, I'll cut a piece of cardboard to fit the base piece. And do I secure the lid to the base or secure the $300 cooler and let someone raid the drinks? So normally when someone wants to steal something, they want to take something. So if they nick a few drinks, I can handle that rather than losing $300 with cooler. So there's the thought process at the moment. Okay guys, a bit of cardboard assisted drawing. So that's it there. So I'll have to trim away from here to miss the catch. So that's that there. So I've drawn under it. There's basically the shape in there. So where do I want to put the lock staple? If I put it out here, if I put it out there, it increases the width for storage maybe less so here, and that give me plenty of spots to put some reasonable screws into the plate. I'll have to be good with my drilling. Or do I put a lock point here? Think on that one. Okay guys, if I put it on the square, I've got the carpenter square here, and work it off that. It'll probably interfere with the fitting of the cooler and stuff the least. So that's my thought process. I'm going to put my hole in there then, and it'll not stick out any more than it really has to. Okay guys, so that's what we've got so far. There's the curve on the back. So if I cut along this line here, I don't have to worry about the cooler catch at all. It'll start from that corner, just come out enough there. It'll be in line with the cooler in this direction, and I'll work out how much of a hole I can put in here. So the less leverage I give someone, it'll find it harder to snap the screws. Well guys, I'm liking me form. So there it is there. Also appears to work on the top. So I round that corner off. So I've got all this here to work out what size hole I can put in. Now I need to figure out what materials I've got. It's about 7mm thick. I don't have the ability to cut and weld aluminium. Steel I can. So of course steel rusts. This is all plastic and alloy. Anyway, alright guys, so a heavy cable lock's about 11mm and a pretty reasonable padlock's about 9mm steel staple, so probably around a 10mm hole maybe. Don't know what I can squeeze in the materials as yet. Okay guys, been running through the scrap bin. I picked this off the road because I live near a boat ramp, and it's a skid from a boat trailer. This stuff here is really strong. It's about the right thickness. Time I file down a bit, especially on the end, it's sort of not worn. So this could be a good option. It's about the right thickness by the time I file down the middle a little bit, and I might give this a shot. Okay guys, I'm happy with the shape. Fortunately the fall on the material's not that chuffed, but everything else I'm pleased with. So this could go both ways. So I do a go for broke, get the welder out, well not need the welder, get the grinder out and the drill out, and cut some heavy steel plate and make a real lock, or do I try and find some other materials. Okay guys, steel plate. This is 5mm plate, 6mm plate. So that's about 7, so that'll be a pretty reasonable fit on there. So I run a square on this edge here. This is a 90. So that gives me that line there. So that's this here. So I've got all this room here to get my 10mm or so hole through. So I'll try and tuck it in as close as I can, and then I'll follow that contour and round off. So I want to make this as least obtrusive as possible for carrying this cooler around. Otherwise you'd be constantly whacking your leg into it. Then I'll work out to do the same on the top and put a spacer in the middle, or how I'm going to cover the screws. Anyway, we'll get there. Okay guys, we're getting there. So that is totally doable. Now I could take some off this and make it less catchy on your leg if you're carrying this around, because it is a roadie. So don't need to, it's actually in the square. I think I will round out, try and follow that arc over here a little bit. And now I've got that shape set, I can duplicate another one, because I think the top one's going to have to be slightly different. There is a real, this is basically flat, and this one's certainly not. So that might be a bit of a challenge. It's quite an angle on that top. Okay guys, I've rounded that off to make it as least obtrusive as possible. And still a 10mm hole, and I've still got room to, I could file out to 12. I don't have a 12mm bit. Now that's that sorted. So either I make a stack of plates, which would make that look really solid. I don't have to do anything at the back. Basically I'm just making a front for it. It's going to be really hard at this angle on the top here to get this to look right. So a bit of a conundrum. I mean, that is solid enough with a couple of long reach screws. Yes, you can break it. You probably, so all I need now is a way of pinning it down so that you can't see it's just screwed in. Possibly that's the way to go. Okay guys, I've finally settled on a design I'm happy with. So what I'm going for is the overbuilt look. Okay. So due to the bevel in this edge, I'm not going to pin to the top lid. So that allows someone to get into this cooler, but hopefully not to steal it. So these nuts don't do anything. They're there to protect the screw heads underneath. So there they are there. So I'll put a couple of Allen headed self-tappers, so if someone does realise that there are screws under there. So in the end of the day, this is plastic. So as strong as I can make it would be to put some bond here and the 2 screws down there. So I think that'll withstand a reasonably brutal attack, and it'll keep those guys that aren't going to try too hard. Well guys, it's finished. I'm pretty happy with that. Looks a pretty solid piece of kit. Looks more solid than it actually is, but I think that should stop the chance of having you grab it of your cooler and legging it with it. So I think I've achieved that. I'm going to have a look inside here next, or maybe next video. It's awfully hot out here. I just check the temperature is about 50 degrees Celsius. So I've had enough. Anyway guys, if you like this type of content and it helps you make good things and choose well, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I shall see you next time.